Live. Microphone. Hey, I think we're good. So, when last we left off, we were on Commander 2015 for building Tyvar, so... Yeah, there's my notification. Alright, so... Onward to Commander 2016. Took a quick break, took a power nap. Feeling a bit better. More awake than I was before I took my break, but still a bit groggy side, but that's okay. Let's see. One day I will build a different Nicol Bolas theme deck than the one that I have, and that deck will run Cruel Entertainment, because that might be one of the most Bolas cards I have ever seen. It's like, you two, I'm going to give you the ability to kill each other, and we'll see which one of you takes it. And just remember, the other one does want to defeat you eventually, even if they'd rather get rid of me right now. And it takes a whole lot for both players to not see what the other player has and just go, yeah, that will wreck me if I don't do anything about it. And, so, yeah, it's very difficult for Cruel Entertainment to actually go sideways unless you just have the most insanely overwhelming thing. And even then, they're likely to do a little bit of jockeying for position, play a card out of the other player's hand that they would prefer if the player controlling them had not done. So, Curse of Vengeance. Don't think so. Curtain's Call, Magus of the Will, Parting Thoughts. Untap all creatures until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls blocks, draw a card. Then you draw a card anyway. So we can use this to untap all of our creatures. We untap everybody else's things too, but I don't think that's actually particularly problematic. I don't know if it's going to be good enough as a one-shot thing. There are a lot of effects like this. This one does give us a card draw, though, so... Factors. Oops, didn't hit factors. Just spelled draft. Okay, it's spelled like old-timey draft. Which for the longest time I thought was just called Draught and was supposed to be functionally similar to the word draft. I just assumed that it was pronounced the way it's spelled. And because I only ever read it, I never knew that's how it was. I think it was like college actually, where one of my creative writing teachers said that word's pronounced draft. And it's like, oh, huh. Okay then. Evolutionary escalation doesn't seem necessary. Primeval Protector is it's a big old 10/10 for probably like 7, maybe 5 mana. And it puts a counter on each of your creatures, and that doesn't seem anywhere near worth the effort. Trample, Indestructible. Whenever another creature you control attacks, it gains Trample and Indestructible. I do like giving Trample and also Indestructible to our Death Touch creatures. That seems amazing. So we can consider the Stonehoof Chieftain. This does seem like the type of card that I would want to ramp into with all of this extra mana. And considering that it's 7 and a green, we have no problem with the color requirements for it. Like, it's not like we have to be tapping elves that tap for like 10 green mana, or elves that specifically tap for mana of any color, so that way we can get the black mana out of it that we would need. So, Centaur Warrior 8/8. So we will consider Stonehoof Chieftain. Serper, this is the one that gains life based on toughness. Don't need that. Last of the Absin. One or more 1/1 counters on it. You may put that many 1/1 counters on target creature. I mean, it's fine. Like, it lets me move the counters from my dead and dying creatures, but I think there are other cards that do that. I'm trying to remember if the one card is green or not. It might be white, where it gets all the counters. It's from New Capenna. So when a creature dies, when a permanent dies, if it had counters on it, you can put the counters on the enchantment, and then the enchantment lets the counters move off. It's kind of like the Ozoleth, but not entirely the same. Very similar though. So yeah, I don't know that we need Rayhan. That's not really what the deck is all about. A 1/1 counter from Crawler. Add 1 mana of any color. Okay, so the biggest problem with Crystalline Crawler, like, it does actually work, is that because it's only once per turn, we remove the 1 counter, we can only make the 1 mana, we only get the 1 counter back. But it is a 4/4, or I'm sorry, it's a 4 mana creature that's going to be a 3/3 that lets me remove, or lets me just make a mana as long as we control our commander once per turn. And then it can add another counter to itself. Yeah, the first counter removal is free because it will get a new counter, but since it's not remove X counters from it, add X mana, um, we can only get a 1 counter rebate from Tyvar. And then, of course, all of the other hardened scales type effects will give it another counter, so we can consider it at least. It probably won't make the cut because it's not going to be powerful enough. But Crystalline Crawler. This is a construct, and it's a 0/0. But it does meet the minimum requirements for Tyvar, so I will at least consider it, even if it's not likely to make the final deck. That was 2016. Onward to 2017. In the organized, oh right, creature types matters ones, but not for elves. Return target vampire wizard, a dragon, black zombie, a vampire. We will be running enough non-elves that once we get to Kindred Dominance, we just want to cast Boozy Thing anyway. Like the Plague Wind variants in Garrick's Wake. It's not doing too much for us to kill all of our opponent's creatures that aren't elves. Dies, choose one or more. Each move must target a different player. Creature discards 2 cards, loses 5 life. Well, that definitely fits what we're doing and encourages players to attack our opponents. Sure. Curse of Bounty. 1 in a green. Chant Aura. No. Curse of Bounty. We're not full on pirates here. Hungry Lynx is cat related. Choose a creature type. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. Don't think so. Like at 7 mana, we run the risk of, okay, I've revealed like 4 elves that are basically mana dorks, like low casting cost, low power and toughness. Woohoo. Unless I desperately needed a lot more mana than I already had with all of the elves I already had in play, or druids or shamans, whatever creature type we're going to wind up naming. For X basic land cards, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. No. I mean, Herald's Horn is a lot more likely, making our already like 2 and 3 mana dorks cheaper, and letting us look at the top card of our deck and possibly draw an extra card. Yeah, no, Herald's Horn might actually make it. 3-drop artifact. Yeah, it is cheap enough that it comes down in time to make the other ones cheaper while it still matters. Or I might be able to cast an extra spell or 2 in a turn and set up. Or, just get my entire board wrathed away, but that is the downside. Yeah, I don't think we need Path of Ancestry. We're gonna have enough potential comes into play tapped lands already. Commander 2018 now. Alright. That button. Everything. Leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each 1/1 counter it had. So you can pay 2 life to give it a counter, and then that will result in getting other counters potentially from other things. And when it leaves the battlefield, so it doesn't have to die. It can be bounced, it can be exiled, we would still get to draw the cards. That might actually be worth considering. Bloodline Tracker? No, just Blood Tracker. Is a 4 mana vampire wizard 2/2. Don't think I need Entreat the Dead. No to Loyal Subordinate. Knight Incarnate kills most of our things. Our commander's a 4-drop. I can't imagine when we Skullstorm it'll be for more than 3. Like, cast him twice and cast Skullstorm. Choose two players. Whenever damage is dealt to one of the chosen players, the other chosen player also loses that much life. Eh, it's 10 plus 10, as long as you control 10 or more lands. Reveal cards on the top of your library until you reveal a non-land permanent card. You may put that card onto the battlefield and put all the reveal cards that weren't put onto the battlefield on the bottom of your library in a random order. Hmm. Oh, Loyal Guardian. I appreciate the effort, but that is unnecessary. We will put counters on all of our things anyway. Ravenous Slime. For one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, create an 0/1 plant token, sack 3 creatures, return a land from your graveyard to your hand. Technically, we could run Whiptongue Hydra. I don't anticipate having very many flying mana dorks. And we might have like a demon or two or a dragon somewhere in the deck, but certainly use that to kill a bunch of flyers. Um, Definitely want Windgrace's Judgment because that is one of my marquee cards for green black. Like if I am green and black at the same time, Windgrace's Judgment is going in the deck. And then it will be up to the other cards to prove they should be in there instead. And good luck to them on that one, because that is a hard sell to make to me. Being able to blow up a permanent from each player just seems way too strong. Um, don't need Retrofitter Foundry, I don't think, and I hate Isolated Watchtower. Don't need Forge of Heroes. Okay. That'll do for 2018. Or to 2019. I think is Strixhaven? I could be wrong. I feel like this is the Strixhaven one, though. Have to see what the unique cards are. No, it's definitely not. This is where Carrick came from. Source opponent controls deals damage to Archfiend of Spite. That source's controller loses that much life unless they sack that many permanents, and it has Madness. Yeah, this was the Mechanics Matter, so we had like Morph, Madness, Populate, I think was one of them, and Flashback. I think those were the ones. We won't see the other ones, we'll only see the Morph ones, because that was Bug Colors and um, Madness was Black Red, so we'll see those. I forget. We might see the Populate, I guess, because we have green. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Alright. Whenever I discard a card, I make it, or a creature card, I make a 2/2. Discard a land, makes 2 black, and discard a non-creature, non-land. I draw a card. I don't make myself discard all that much, so. Draws a card, they lose 2 life, and you gain 2 life. And Madness 4. So Carrick is also not a mana ability, it just changes what you can pay for the mana. It's very similar to giving the spell an alternative cost, but not quite, because it's still using the original mana cost, and whatever permission you have to. Whatever mana cost you have the permission to pay based on the game state can be you can substitute black mana for 2 life in those situations. But yeah, not an actual mana ability. Nightmare I'm Making, Thieving Amalgam new. There's a battlefield. It fights up to one target creature you don't control. Whenever it's dealt damage, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. Yep. Populate X times. Orin Frostfang. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. So, Orin Frostfang is worded the awkward way compared to Tyvar, since it's not a trigger. Killing the Frostfang would get rid of the Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, though. Like, we can still lean on Tyvar to make sure all our guys have Death Touch. Killing the Frostfang will stop us from drawing, but we still are attacking with a bunch of creatures that will draw us cards potentially if they're not blocked. And just because the person that's killing Frostfang isn't blocking doesn't mean the other players didn't block anyway. And then they kill Frostfang, but we had Death Touch from like Tyvar or something, and we still kill the other blocking creatures. Seems okay, and I really do like the massive card draw it allows for, but we have a few other ways to draw cards, so maybe we don't need that. Draw a card for each opponent who controls fewer creatures than you. Nope. Each player creates a 1/1 green plant creature token. Whenever a creature token dies, this gets a 1/1 counter. Nope. Aeon Engine, Oblivion, Pendant of Prosperity. Don't care for any of these. Turn target commander from where you own from the battlefield to your hand, activate only during your turn. Nope, don't think so. Alright, so the next one does. Oh no, is this one. I was gonna say this one is Strixhaven, and I think that it still is. Was Strixhaven after Ikoria? I guess it was. Hmm. Everything that happened around this time is a little bit fuzzy. Well, this is definitely Strixhaven, and it is doing that thing where it only shows me the one card. So that's Study Hall. So we pop on over to Scryfall. Commander 2021. Go black and green. Commander. $2021. Yeah, Commander 2020 is Ikoria then. Release date. Or not release date. Wow. Set number. There we go. Alright, so first we have the face commanders, which are Guillaume and Willow Dusk. Trample, beginning of your end step, create a number of food tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Sacrifice a food, target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. Eh. Choose another target creature, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of life you gained this turn or the amount of life you lost this turn. Whichever is greater, activate only as a sorcery. Author of Shadows enters the battlefield, exile cards from opponent's graveyard. No. +1/+0. Non-token creature you control dies. Create a pest. One or more counters on a creature they control. Put those onto Bold Plagiarist. No. The top card of that player's library. You may play that card. No. We're not life gain, so I don't care about Essence Pulse. Treasure, sacrifice an artifact, make a 2/1 Inkling, and 4 mana untap him. No to Feign. The Incarnation Technique. 8 Keen Duelist. Like, absolutely despise that card. Like, what a terrible waste of a card. It's Bob, but it's in reverse, so you will always be getting hit for high mana costs, and your opponent is subject to whatever you can get on top. But yeah, if it was both players did that, but they lost life equal to their card's cost, you could do a thing where your stuff is cheap and you get a bunch of cards, and the other player reveals something and they take a ton of damage in order to get the same extra cards. But Stinging Study, or X is the mana value of a commander you own, so that would be draw 4, lose 4 for 5 mana. I think so. You gain life this turn, you may pay X life and make an XX demon. No. Coven Witches requires me to gain life. Blossoming Bog Beast. Then creatures you control gain trample and +X, where X is the amount of life you gained. Yeah, still not worth it. Like, I'm not gonna gain enough other life that this thing will ever be more than like a 2/2 or a +2/+2. Maybe I want to say if we put something else that happened to gain life pre-combat, we might be able to get it up to like a 4/4 or 5/5 bonus. Maybe. So, creature spells you cast cost X less, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Tap, gain 2 life. Excuse me. Green and 2 and X make an XX. Whenever equipped creature attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on it. Yeah, that's not a huge deal in this deck. Like, yes, we have a ton of counters, and making our creatures bigger is cool, but we don't have so many counters on one creature that suddenly doubling its powers, like it's going to become like a 50 power trampling creature or something. So, where we're just gonna one shot an opponent from full out of nowhere. And yeah, just making another big dumb creature usually isn't going to be good enough. We, force one player to chump, and then the other players get scared and they kill it because it's Titanic, and then we move on with our lives. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You gain life equal to that card's mana value. Oh, target card, not target creature card. Exile healing technique and as demonstrate. No. Double the number of growth counters on Paradox Zone. Then create a 0/0 green and blue fractal. Put X/1/1 counters on it, where X is the growth counters on the enchantment. So yeah, it's an exponential creature token maker, and that's fine, but not necessary. I don't need Pest Infestation. Ruxa. Exile target creature with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a fractal token, put X/1/1 counters on it, activate only as a sorcery. No. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life, you may cast Trudge from your graveyard. Trudge Garden. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2 to make a 4/4 green fungus beast with trample. Grave Gardener. Turns all of your dead creatures into forests. For each permanent type, return up to one card of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. You lose 3 life for each card returned this way. Exile Revival Experiment. Nope. We don't actually plan on casting a ton of spells with X in the casting cost, so that's not going to help much. Nexus, no. Contract, no. Triplicate Titan, don't think so. Try X-Rex is the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. Nope. Witch's Clinic, no. Hey, that's everything. Alright, so that was 2021. Onward to Commander Legends. Vigilance, Menace, Power and Toughness equal the number of elves you control plus the number of elves in your graveyard. It doesn't tap for mana. You control have indestructible. I mean, that's nice when death touching Tyvar attacks, but don't think we need a Nara just for that. Apex Devastator. I don't think so. We have a very high chance of just cascading into, like, a Lalamore Elf type thing. So. Velbay's a trigger, so she's not helping anything with this deck. Club. Prototype for anything. Section for color that's not in your commander's color identity. Yeah, I don't think so. Don't think we care about the monarchy. Lots of death touch creatures are great for getting the monarchy back, but still not amazing. As long as you're the monarch, permanents you control have hexproof. No. Sonic lore. Each opponent discards a card. No. Non-elves get -3/-3, and you can encore him. And then when each one of the token copies dies either in combat or at the end of the turn, get -3/-3 per opponent. So probably somewhere around -9/-9, maybe -12/-12. Also, they are themselves 3/3 death touches, but that doesn't super matter when they're going to kill everything anyway from the encore. So, all right, roll up for Command Legends. So Elvish Dreadlord. There's also a chance we don't run this because we don't have enough like elves specifically. We wind up more druids or other creature types. Zombie elf 3. Oops. Elf 3/3. Visionary. Rest. Master, no. Calling, no. Turn, no. Oh, we can consider Fertilid when I get to Tide or whatever it is. Yeah, Morning Tide. Dorn Elves. Paradise. Spend this mana. When you spend this mana, cast a spell with mana value 6 or greater, draw a card. That is okay, and we might run her. Depends on how many big bomby spells I have to cast with her that don't immediately end the game anyway. Caller of Firewood. 2 green elf druid. 2 X space. Okay. Winnower. Mana. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each Tekek and 1/1 counter on each column. I think so. Magistrate or the perfect. Or the Ivy Lane, for that matter. Small Heart of Krosa. He's an 8 mana overrun, like, and if he lives, he keeps overrunning every turn. He could animate my lands into vigilant, indestructible creatures, so they could attack, tap, add mana, get counters. And then next turn they could be even bigger. Yeah, I suppose I will consider him. All Heart of Krosa. Right. 6 green, human druid. Druid. And now to Casket. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, you may put a permanent card with equal or lesser mana value from your hand onto the battlefield. No. All of these so far. Maelstrom Colossus, no. This is the order. Little bit tempting, but I don't think so. Think I need Miara. Reprints. Cares about tokens. That cares about tokens. Target artifact or no. Land enters battlefield under opponent's control. The player loses 1 life, and this gets a counter. No. Pay XX when you do. Distribute X/1/1 counters among any number of target elves. Is okay with what we're doing, but not essential. Think we need Profane Transfusion. Attacks, put target creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and scores for 8. I don't need Reshape the Earth either. Player may search their library for up to 3 basic land cards. They put one of those cards onto the battlefield tapped under your control, and the rest on the battlefield tapped under their control. Then each player who searched their library this way shuffles. Saying gear at all. All ingesting with 5 counters. Whenever Slurk or another creature you control dies, if it had 1/1 counters on it, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that has a 1/1 counter on it. Yeah, that's nowhere near as good as like Rave, and I didn't bother with that one, or whatever it's called up here because it was printed in this set. Rayhan. That's what it was. One's Rave then, like RYAV or something, or RYH. Alright, there's a third page because we have commander cards in here, like the commander decks in here also. Stump Squall doesn't need to be in the deck. Recluse. No. Thoughts will. Evish Shazat. Thorn Black Rose. 3 visits. Desecrator, no. Growth Stadium. Maybe. Yeah, I'm wondering if Vault of Champions shouldn't have been one of the lands in our previous commander deck. I think I meant to add it and then never got around to it. Now that I'm looking at when I saw Undergrowth Stadium, well, actually, when I saw one of the other ones on the other page, I'm like, we're gonna see Undergrowth Stadium, and then I was thinking about Vault of Champions, and it's like that was one of the ones that can consistently come into play untapped that I did not put in Drana and Linvala. I might actually replace one of their lands with it. So when you see the final product, it might have that land in there in place of one of the ones in the video. I have to try and remember to include that also on the list. That was a post stream thing I got reminded of. Alright, so that was Commander Legends. Commander Legends. Battle for Baldur's Gate. Oh, right. That was unnecessary because they have so many different cards in here. Like, the cards from the commander sets will still. Or will they? Will the cards from the commander sets actually get pushed all the way to the bottom at that point? If I do it this way, I don't have to go through all of them. When an artifact or creature you control is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever this creature attacks a player, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, gains Death Touch and Indestructible. Draw 3 cards, lose 3. No. No. Roller Cleric. Graveyard to the battlefield. Sorcery. Cloud Kill. Kills too many of our little guys. Yeah, my guys are getting Death Touch from enough different places I don't need. Now return target creature from a graveyard to your hand. Every creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on equipped creature. Old folk, new murder, Miracle's Edict, Miracle's Invoker. Whatever opponents you controlling the battlefield, scry one. Nope. Card lose a life, and so on. Parasitic Impetus. Seer. Roll. No. Merchant reprint. Sturge. Dead. Control. Gain Death Touch until end of turn. Yeah, I've already got that covered, thanks. Underdark Explorer, no. Vicious Battle Rager, no. If a opponent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. Venturin Bandit. Have first dragon spell you cast each turn cost 2 less. No. Access the greatest power among creatures you control and creature cards in your graveyard. Well, it'll be among creatures I control then, because most of our creatures are going to have terrible stats in the graveyard. Not all of them, but most of them. And it's battlefield, you take the initiative. No. Blind Master, no. Circle of the Land Druid. Mill 4, and then it dies, you get a land back. Oh. Beginning creature was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn. Create 2 tapped 1/1 squirrels. A 1/1 counter on Cloakwood Swarmkeeper. Life, mill 4 cards, and put a 1/1 counter on that creature for each creature card milled this way. Dragon reveal and put it in your hand. No. 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 For lands, no. Mill 3 cards, no. Emerald Dragon, Ettercap. Explore the Underdark for a library. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and/or gates, and you take the initiative. Trample, ward. Other creatures you control have trample and ward. For 8 mana, it's an 8/8 insect. Yeah, we can probably do better than that. Hardy Outlander. +X/+X, where X is its power. No. Counter on other creatures you control, enter with an additional 1/1 counter on them. No, we can do better. Up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Nature's Lore, no. Reclamation. Oh, this is the other printing of Reclamation. Okay. At the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, draw a card. No. Don't need overwhelming encounter, I don't think. They do gain vigilance and trample. So with a low roll, we're only getting bad overrun. Like, I think it actually is like one of the overrun variants where it's like instead of 3 green and 2, it's 2 green and 3. But if we roll higher, if we roll middle to high, though, we can get 2 counters, and that might actually parlay into a full-on overrun or better that leaves behind all the counters. And the natural 20 is just silly at that point. Still don't think it's worth it. I think I'd rather have another creature. Like, there are enough creatures that are kind of vaguely like Craterhoof Behemoth that we probably just want a couple of them as our things. We are not casting enough dragon spells for that guy, so sorry, Dragon Druid. Have base power and toughness 10/10 and our giants in addition to their other types. Kind of whatever. The saddle. Power is equal to the number of creatures you control. Enters the battlefield, deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying and opponent controls. Not necessary. New Skullwinder reprint. Split the spoils. Underseller Myconid is a fungus that does tap for mana, and it makes a 1/1 when it comes in or dies. That's probably too low impact. I think we can skip over that one. Look upon the Tarisk. +5/+5 and gains indestructible. All creatures your opponent's control able to block that creature this turn do so. It's 5 mana though to do that. Like, yes, casting it on um our commander while he's got death touch from attacking seems amazing, but other than that it's not that impressive. Arcane Encyclopedia, no. Bag of Holding. It's Walrus. Campfire, no. Clockwork Fox, no. No. Mastiff, no. Alright, on to the next page. Revealing, no. The Marut, no. Nope. Untap target legendary creature I control. Yeah, probably not then. Pilgrim's Eye, Prize Statue, Prophetic Prism, Mothering Rug. No. Next is the number of gates you control. Bramble Sovereign. You should be up in the other list. Like, what are you doing past the lands? That can't be right. Where Bramble Sovereign, Nautiloid Ship, Vexing Puzzle Box, also Ancient Ancient Brass Dragon. What are you doing down here? You are definitely alphabetically first. I have no idea what's going on with the organization of this particular flow chart of how these cards got organized, but yeah, this is This is nowhere near correct. Creates treasure tokens. No. That player loses X life, where X is save X power. Other creature draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. Um, a card, then return that card from your graveyard to your hand unless that player pays 3 life. If there are 4 more creature cards in your graveyard, return 1 at random. Bronze Dragon now. I mean, that's hilarious, but we're already winning by way too much if that thing is going off, so. Also, we would need to give it first strike so that way it deals its combat damage first and then puts the counters on all of the other creatures. Otherwise, yeah, kind of doesn't super matter. Target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Target token becomes a bear. Tokens you control have tap add green. I do not expect to actually be making a ton of tokens in this deck. I do appreciate, though, that she would actually let me put counters on, like, all of my token creatures. But yeah, I think we would just want creatures I control have tap add mana at that point. Because we'll have way more creatures than tokens. Abala Saga. Other creatures. Choose a background. Wilson. No. Alright, with how out of order everything was, did I even ever see the Earthquake Dragon or anything? Or are we still at the part where now I'm going to start seeing cards? Because, yeah, she was also only in the set, and we were like 5 cards deep into the commander things now. True, it attacks against Death Touch until end of turn. Mill 2 cards. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land or cast a permanent spell from among cards put into your graveyard that were put there from your library this turn. Okay. Skeleton. Yeah, we're still getting random cards from in the middle of the set in alphabetical order, but you know, divorced from all of the other cards in the set. I have no idea how it's figuring out what the card numbers are then. Like, what is its process for doing this? Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Style target creature put X/1/1 counters on a commander creature you control where X is the power of the creature exiled this way. Destroy all creatures, make a tapped treasure token. Number of cards in their graveyard. Play lands and cast spells from one cards exiled within an elective hour. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast. Don't need packed weapons. Hey, there's Earthquake Dragon. Don't need the Ravenloft Adventurer. X basic land cards where X is the number of attacking or X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Prevent all damage will be dealt to you this turn. Fill the top X cards of your library. X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. You may put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That is 8 mana for 4 cards. Um, the player who controls 8 or more lands. Look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that player. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I am sorry. I am starting to get drained right back down to like no energy again. I'm sorry, I just saw Under Mountain Adventure. I could not remember what the green one did, and now that I'm looking at it, it's just like it taps to add 2 green. Or if you've completed the dungeon, you add 6 green. And therefore would add 6/1/1 counters to her. Um I don't think so. Like, one, it's introducing the initiative, which is not great for us, because that will encourage players to attack us. And then we'll have to attack one of those players to get our thing back, and that does run the risk of losing our creatures to not get the initiative back, or getting it back but then having it taken away from us again. Yeah, it feels like Under Mountain Adventure is not quite where we want to be at. The Servant. Life Trapping. Huh. So, I know the last deck I built, I kept having problems remembering how our cards were going to interact. So, it occurs to me that I had Portcullis on the list, and the goal was, well, since creatures won't have their comes into play abilities, they won't be able, like, it won't matter, and they'll just get exiled, so they won't get the trigger when they come in, and they probably won't get the trigger when they come back. But that was a comes into play ability on Portcullis, because I was looking at the Mirror of Life Trapping. I was like, I wonder why that wasn't also on the list. And then I remember it's because it does not work. But for some reason, I just decided Portcullis probably did, and I could just leave it in. Alright, so now we've managed to get through the entire set. I don't think we're running Fraying Line. Oh, there's another gate, and there's the other lands. A reflecting pool for good measure. Okay, and here's the actual commander stuff. Um, loses X life and you create X treasures, where X is the number of creatures in your party. Commander creatures you own have becomes tapped. +2/+0 and gain Undying. That's kind of neat if I go like full on elves specifically, but I think I'm focusing more on them being mana dorks in general. You may cast it. That spell has Undaunted. Hmm. Yeah, I don't think I need Durnan. Yeah, Haunting Portal, I'm already not 100% sure. Because Tyvar, what's Tyvar's other type? He's an elf warrior? Yeah, warrior is not the card type. Like, if he were already an elf druid or an elf, oh god, what's the other creature type that they are frequently? Like, druid would probably be best. Shaman, I think, is the other type that might be relevant. Yeah, if he were one of those, we could, make a case for Haunted One because we would be getting one or the other, if not both. Um, Although, with all the 1/1 counters we're throwing around, Undying doesn't actually do much of anything. Never mind. I'm sorry, I got distracted by what it would take for this thing to work, and I'm not thinking about the fact that it's Undying, not, oh god, the one from Shadowmoor. Um, Persist. So, Persist would actually be the one we would want with all the 1/1 counter shenanigans we can do. Black Market Connections. No. Rain, Stealer, Dragon? Not really. Creature from your graveyard on the battlefield under your control with a corpse counter on it. You take the initiative, leave the battlefield, exile it. 5 cards to escape this from the graveyard. Nope. Earth. And none of them are the card type we like, the job class we would most want, so. Crabs, oozes, and or horrors, no. Green slime. Activated or triggered ability from an artifact or enchantment source. Permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent. Like, I do like green slime as a way to destroy an artifact or enchantment. I don't think that. Exile the top 4 cards of your library, then roll a d20. Nope. Melancholy Hunt. Exile a target creature card from your graveyard until the end of your next turn. You may cast that card. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a creature spell you cast from exile. Nope. Exile cards on the top of your library until you exile a land card. Put that card on the battlefield and rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Exile Venture Forth with 3 time counters on it, and then it gains a spend 3. Yeah, don't care about those creature types. Still don't want to take the initiative. Yeah, I think we're through all of the unique cards, and now we're into the old stuff. Okay. Well, that was an ordeal, but we made it. We have been live for a full hour and 7 minutes to get through Baldur's Gate. Hey, oh, staring at game text is starting to wear me down, so perhaps. Yeah, I would have time for one draft, even if it went, like, the full distance, so. Give me a few minutes. I'll reset the stream title, and I will be right back. And we'll do a best of 3 draft with March of the Machine.